Okay, let's talk about having conversations where people actually listen. Where you sound sharp, decisive, and you finally stop rambling. Well, you're in the right place. Because today, we're going to stop treating communication like some kind of soft skill and start treating it like what it really is, a science.
I mean, it's such a frustrating feeling, right? You're trying to make a point, but you can just see their eyes glaze over. They're just waiting for their turn to speak. We've all been there. But what if I told you there's a way to fix that? And the answer is rooted in actual science. So here's the big mindset shift we need to make. Science can now tell us exactly what makes someone magnetic versus what makes them, well, instantly forgettable. And look, these aren't just parlor tricks. These are research-backed tools that you can start using today to become way more persuasive. So here's our roadmap. First, we'll dive into the science of how people react to you. Then, we'll look at what's happening inside their brain when they hear your words. We'll cover how to control a room's energy, arm you with a tactical toolbox, and then we'll put it all together. Let's jump in. First up, the science of speaking. And what's really fascinating here is that people are responding to your emotional signals long before they even process the words coming out of your mouth. It's something called the neuroecho effect. See, our brains have these things called mirror neurons. And within 200 milliseconds, that's literally less than the blink of an eye, these neurons cause people to subconsciously copy you. So if you're scattered, they feel scattered. If you speak with certainty, their nervous system actually calms down. You are literally regulating the entire room's nervous system. This quote just nails the point. Picture this. You walk into a high-stakes meeting. There's a group of men all talking over each other, totally ignoring you. The energy is just chaotic. So instead of trying to shout over them, you just pull up a chair, sit down, and wait, quietly. Within seconds, the chaos just dies down, and all eyes are on you. Why? Because you refuse to mirror their frantic energy, so their brains had no choice but to mirror your calm, grounded presence. That's the neuroecho effect in action.
So that's the nonverbal side of things. Now let's talk about the words themselves. What is the human brain actually wired to pay attention to?
Turns out, your brain has some very specific and frankly, kind of lazy preferences. First, it craves novelty. Anything new or surprising forces it to snap to attention. Second, it loves simplicity. People will actually judge you as being more intelligent if you're clear, not complex. And third, it's basically addicted to curiosity. Asking a question releases a little hit of dopamine, making people lean in, wanting to know the answer. You can use all three of these. And you can absolutely weaponize this. Take this example. A CEO is trying to buy a business from a super nervous seller. Instead of hitting him with a wall of facts and figures, she just paused, leaned in, and asked a simple question. What would make this feel like a relief, not a risk? And bam, instantly his entire body language changed. That one question chemically shifted the entire conversation from tension to trust. Okay, let's move from the cognitive to the physical. Your voice and your body aren't just for delivering words. They are tools. They're tools for actively managing your audience's physiology. Think of them as your own personal remote control for the room. This is a wild concept. It's called vocal entrainment. Research shows that a listener's heartbeat will literally subconsciously sync up to the rhythm of your voice. Just think about that. If you speak rushed and stressed, their heart rate actually goes up. But if you speak in a steady, calm rhythm, their heart rate slows down. This is not an accident. It's why yoga instructors have that specific calming cadence. They are controlling your physiology with their voice. And it gets even cooler. There's this thing called the processing fluency effect. Researchers at Princeton found that statements that have a nice rhythm to them are judged as being more truthful. Why? Well, because if the brain can process something easily, it just kind of assumes it must be correct. It's another one of those mental shortcuts. Just listen to how these land. Move slow to move fast. You repeat what you don't repair. They sound like deep wisdom, don't they? Before your brain even fully processes the meaning, the rhythm just makes them feel true. Using these kinds of memorable, rhythmic one-liners makes your ideas stick like glue. And finally, don't forget your hands. Research shows that gesturing actually helps your own brain form thoughts more clearly. But even more importantly, you need to keep your hands visible. From an evolutionary perspective, think caveman brain, hidden hands could be holding a rock or a spear, but open hands, they signal safety and trust. It's a really simple, powerful way to build rapport without even saying a word. Okay, let's get super tactical. This section is all about high-impact tools you can start using in your very next conversation, like today, to immediately change the outcome. All right, here's a simple but incredibly powerful word swap. Stop saying I think and start saying I've observed. See, I think sounds like an opinion. It's a low confidence signal. But I've observed implies you have data, you have experience to back it up. It frames your point as a fact, not just a feeling.
And this isn't just a hunch. Research from Columbia University found that statements framed as observations are perceived as 40% more credible. Let that sink in for a second. A 40% credibility boost just from changing 2 words. That's a tool you need to be using, like, yesterday.
Next tool in the box, tell a story. Look, we love to present facts and data, but our brains just aren't wired to remember them. Stories, though, are different. They activate these sensory parts of our brain. They let the listener actually feel and live your point, not just hear it as some boring piece of data.
The numbers here are just insane. Stanford research found that stories are a staggering 22 times more memorable than facts alone. 22. So the next time you really need to persuade someone, don't you dare open a spreadsheet. Tell them a story instead. All right, this is the big one. This is the cornerstone. If you remember only one tactic from this entire explainer, please make it this one. For any difficult or important conversation, I want you to use the 3-2-1 trick. Here's how it works. It's so simple. First, after they finish speaking, you pause for a full 3 seconds. This does 2 amazing things. It gets their absolute, undivided attention, and it calms your own mind. Second, you make just 2 points. The human brain can only hold about 2 new ideas at once, so this stops your message from getting lost. And finally, you end with 1 question. This forces their brain out of that daydreaming mode and pulls them right back into the conversation with you. 3, 2, 1. Simple.
Okay, let's bring this all home. We've covered the neuroscience, we've covered the physical tactics, and we've got a practical framework. So what's the single most important thing to remember from all of this? Here it is. The crucial point is this. Effective communication is not some magical talent you're born with. It's a skill. The people you admire as great speakers, they simply have more data, they've had more practice, and they have a better set of tools. And the good news is, now you have that toolkit too. So I'll leave you with this question. In your very next conversation, maybe it's in 5 minutes, maybe it's tomorrow morning, which one of these tools are you actually going to use? Are you going to try the 3-2-1 trick? Are you going to swap I think for I've observed? I want you to pick one and consciously apply it, because that's how you start to make sure that you are always, always heard.